Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls online video with me, Sherman. Today guys, we're going to be talking about, can you really play how you want in ESO? And the answer is simple, yes. Is there a problem with how you choose to play? With some, yes. But it's no different than playing tabletop. I mean, I play in a D&D group where we have people that try to be rules lawyers. We have people who try to be power players. We have people that try to be a lot of different things, but we're all having fun at the table. ESO's no different. If somebody says, "Oh, you did your build wrong because you put all your points into Magicka and you use primarily stamina abilities," yeah, you did it wrong. But it doesn't mean that they won't function with an easy change. The whole idea is that yes, you can play how you want. And that's all that matters. I get asked all the time, how can I create so many builds and how do I know they work? The game literally is built with you to have any option available. And it's just improved. The more and more they've advanced the game with time, it's become more and more apparent that play how you want is a feature of the game. So how do I know this character works, this Eldritch Knight? Well, I have the tools in my arsenal to play any way I want. Do I want to be more stamina focused? Well, I can take skills and tools and make the character more stamina focused. I can respec my attributes if I want to tank or I want to heal. I have a lot of different options in how I want to play. And that's where the reality comes from, is a lot of people, when you see a build, you only see part of it. Like, some people are starting to go into explaining why you need certain passives, but they don't explain why you would want them all. And in this case, like this Eldritch Knight, why would I want all the passives in the dark magic tree if I'm not using all the dark magic abilities? Well, because the passives don't just affect just dark magic abilities. Some of them affect your character across the board. Some do focus on using a dark magic ability, like exploitation. Persistent is, guess what? After blocking an attack, your next health, magic, or stamina cost ability is 15% less. That's any ability you use. Blood magic. When you hit an enemy with a directly applied dark magic ability, you heal for so much. This scales off your max health and can occur once every 0.5 seconds. Guess what? That strictly calls for dark magic abilities. Unholy Knowledge reduces health, magic, and stamina cost of your non-core abilities by 6%. These are your core abilities up here. Your weapon abilities and everything else are non-core. So you get Unholy Knowledge, which allows you to use all the other abilities in the game at a 6% reduced cost. Same thing with Daedric Summoning. There's passives in here. But that's the whole point. It's everything about your character in the game. How you progress them, what skills you take, what passives, what morphs, what gear sets you equip, how that all functions together with the overarching play style you're looking to have. Here's a great example. This build uses dual wield. Dual wield has some great passives. Stuff like Slaughter increases your damage done with dual wield abilities by 20% while the enemy's under 25% health. That's a really great thing to have because it makes all your abilities minor executes. It increases their damage. It allows you to do more damage when the enemy's at a certain health threshold, making them easier to kill once they reach it. This includes bosses. Well, why is that important? Well, when you take into consideration a gear set, how can I take advantage of that and a gear set at the same time? This is a great example. Gladiators. So this one adds 1,475 weapon and spell damage against targets who are at or below 25% health. This adds weapon and spell damage against your targets, not just your light and heavy attacks, your abilities as well. So remember, if I'm using dual-wield abilities, which I am, I'm using Bloodthirsty, I'm also using Deadly Cloak. These increase by 20% damage when the enemy's below that threshold. Well, because I'm using the Gladiator set, I'm actually getting more benefit from it, increasing my overarching damage potential. And that damage potential does not get amplified anywhere else other than that 1400 and something damage and this here. So I gain those 20% extra damage, and I gain that other benefit because I'm using tools that combined work better together. And it's just the play style I chose. It's just like when you take into consideration the set Mafala. This has a great area of effect, damage over time ability that creates a thing whenever you do a heavy attack, and it creates a spider web under the enemy. Well, what other ability is like that? Well, there's one in the Undaunted line that comes to mind, and that is the Trapping Webs ability. Now, this is morphed into Tangling Webs because of what it does. It's a stamina ability, it is a synergy, but it reduces the movement speed of the enemy by 50%. It's also something I can cast at a distance instead of having to be right up on the enemy. So I can cast this out there and then draw enemies to me with my bow, make them walk through that. They're going to take the damage from it as they're walking through it, and then that thing's going to explode and hurt them. Well, when they get close, I can heavy attack them and get the same kind of effect. A damage over time, poison damage with this other thing. Well, if somebody runs ahead when this is out, they can activate the synergy on it, causing even more damage. It's just a play style. It's a use of skills with a purpose. And so a lot of skills become beneficial to you, regardless of the situation. For example, me using Shattering Prison with this build allows my group this benefit. Whenever I cast a dark magic ability, you grant minor prophecy to your group, increasing their critical chance by 5% for 20 seconds. On top of that, I also get the blood magic thing that whenever I I hit an enemy with a directly applied dark magic ability, I heal for so much. This plays into my survivability, but it also plays into the fact that Shattering Prison encases the enemy's feet, holding them in place for 4 seconds, and then explodes, damaging them. And then if no enemy are immobilized, you restore a part of that magicka cost. So it's not like I'm wasting resources. So it's one of those beneficial things. It does a mix of everything. And it plays into my character's capabilities of being the kind of character they are. I can use this to lock enemies in place. I can heavy attack them and apply damage over time. And then on top of that, I have these other abilities I can use. So when somebody says, that build's not going to work, how do you know? Are you looking at it from every angle and perspective? Are you looking at the fact that I wear one piece of light armor and I get this prodigy benefit, which is only like a 1 or 2% increase in my crit chance? But that 2% increase in my crit chance is going to help me out. It's kind of like this medium armor benefit, dexterity, which gives me increased critical damage by 2%. That's going to play into my character in some small way when you add in things like the champion tree, where I can increase my critical damage by 10% and get another 2%, making it 12% for me to do damage. That's going to help me out in a lot of ways. That's if I take that part of the warfare tree. There's all these things that you can look at. But the reality is, it comes down to how things function. It's kind of like this. When you do a light attack with your weapon, it takes your weapon damage itself, the straight 1335 weapon damage. It's not that. It's actually this. So when I do a light attack, you'll notice that I hit for about that much. But if I get a crit, it goes up. Now, I'm not going to get a crit unless I drink a potion, so I get a higher crit chance. Now, you can see my crit damage is going up with it. But your damage scales off of, your light and heavy attacks scale off of your weapon damage only, or your spell damage only. They do not scale with anything else. Not your max stamina, not your max magicka, just your weapon and spell damage. Well, so do your skills. But your skills also scale off of a stamina pool. Gear sets only scale off weapon and spell damage. So everything that my character does, the sets he uses, his Knight's, Storm Knight's plate, his Mafala, even this has its benefits, its positives and negatives towards my character. This one here gives me increased health, 2 things of armor. This boosts my resistances to make me more tankier. I can also do that with my champion system by taking things like this, which would give me more armor, and I could also take this, which would give me more health. These are choices. These are options in ways that you can play. It's the reason why this game is designed the way it is. Every little thing you do to progress your character amplifies their ability to be more proficient or more effective at what they do. The passives you unlock, the skills you unlock, what morphs you unlock, what gear sets you use, and how those gear sets play into the build overall. So when people see things about a build like this and they go, oh, well, it's more of a mix between a tank and a DPS. Why are you trying to do that? It's not a tank and DPS in one. It's a damage dealer that's really tanky for survivability purposes. Well, why do you need so much survivability? Have you played this game? Like, there is content where this kind of playing is necessary for those who want to play that way. It's not a matter of them telling you how to play. It's a matter of, is that how you want your character to work? And then if you do, does it work in a group setting? Does it work with you and the people you play with? There's a lot of things that allow you to play how you want based on your choices. Just like when you're playing tabletop and you go into an encounter, you have to make choices. What skills, tools, and things that your group has is going to be effective in this encounter? Well, you don't get to make those choices right before the fight. You have to make those choices while you rest. And if you don't know what you're going up against, you have a general idea, you can take the general idea of what skills are going to be best for your group to use. Like in this case, why do I have Crushing Weapon when it's really not that good of an ability to begin with? For most people, they'll say that. Well, I like it because it deals damage. It also fits the theme of an Eldritch Knight. They're using magical ability, and they're using magic and blade for combat. They're basically mage knights. They don't use magic as their way of dealing damage. They use their magic to protect and do other things. They use their swords primarily for doing damage. Crushing Weapon is just a spell that you cast on the sword through the Psijic Order skill line, which is a mage's guild, basically. And it gives you this ability to break armor with your weapon. So you can go through their resistances and deal damage on top of it with a light attack. And then once you have that, you have 5 seconds to do as much damage as you can. And then you need to reapply it, which isn't hard to do. You do this, it gets that on there, and then now you've got other abilities you can use along with keeping this applied. There's a lot of things you can do. Now you're going to say, why do you have 2 spammables? Why do you have Bloodthirsty and this? Well, it's because I can fire this off, do this, and then Rapid Strikes them with the light attack, go back and do this again, and then do this with Rapid Strikes. The reason for that is so I can build my orbs and I can build my damage up. It's not so I can just do one type of damage. I can do 2 types of damage and it gives me 2 different effects. One gives me a heal at the end of the effect, the other one gives me the crusher, or the major penetration. Then, when you look at the rest of it, you look at things like what's on their weapons. I have the thing that gives me extra penetration, and then I have this thing that does resources return, but it does it every 5 seconds, where this reapplies every 3. Well, this is going to stay up a lot because I have a skill called Deadly Cloak, which activates every 2 seconds. Well, when it does the damage. Well, if I'm up close and this triggers, it's going to keep those enchants applied more effectively. This just allows me to focus on these 2 things, while the enchants are procced off of this primarily. Then on the back bar I have a bow, which has poison injection and bombard. Well, why do I use bombard instead of endless hail? Well, venom arrow will also keep my enchant applied of the increased weapon and spell damage. That applies to any skill I use that is affected by that. So it's more broad. So I can do this with my bow, poison injection, have my potion going, and I get a decent amount of spell damage with weapon damage on the back bar and the front bar, as you can see. But I have to keep this applied. And this is going to keep that buff going of the weapon spell damage for a certain amount of time. So I have to keep this applied up more often, unless I'm using Endless Hail. But I'm not using that. I'm using the Bombard because it's a CC crowd control. Why is this character using more CC crowd control than they are damage? Well, their CC and crowd control is attached to their damage. They're just using it so they can stay on the front lines and keep their allies protected from the incoming damage that could be coming at them. And that's it. Or here's another one. If you look at heavy armor actually has a lot of great benefits for somebody like this. Really good survivability benefits. But then it has something else that people don't look at. It has rapid mending, increases your healing received. It has the revitalize, which is how you get resources back. If I do a heavy attack to proc my monster set, like this, I'm going to get a large chunk of resources back in my stamina. So I can spam this stuff and then throw a heavy attack, and I'm going to get that Mephalas to go off and stay applied every 10 seconds or whatever it is. But the game is buggy, so it doesn't work all the time. So there we go. But you can see what I mean. Like, I can focus on doing a lot of different things, and I can keep all these other things applied. Well, why is that good? Well, it just adds more damage to my character. And that's the whole point. Like, this is a damage dealer. They're not meant to, not necessarily they're not meant to tank. They're just not set up for tanking right now. Can I do that? Yeah. All I have to do is change my attributes and then change my skills to something that's more tank orientated. I have to change my passives to things that are more tank orientated. Why? Because that's how the game plays. And if I have those benefits, it doesn't stop me from doing damage. It just means I'm focused on taking more hits than I am dealing more hits. Doesn't mean I don't do it. So I can still stick with the same tools I'm using for it. It's just a matter of changing skills and how they function. And this applies to any character you play, any build you make. The game is designed this way for a reason. It's kind of like when people say, well, you can't really use Sword and Shield for damage dealing. If you wanted to, you could. Nothing's stopping you. Oh, but, there's this taunt skill on there that is going to ruin the group, when you use it as a DPS. Define ruin, okay? Because here's the thing I look at. If I'm playing in a dungeon and I have a Sword and Shield on a DPS character who's not tanking, I can still use my puncture ability on trash, and I can use it for that benefit of taunting them, putting the breach on them, not only major breach but also minor breach if I take the morph that has that. And then I can beat them down, and I have the survivability with the resistance bonus the shield gives me and the damage bonus the shield gives me for those purposes. Sword and shield isn't a weapon that's just made to tank. It's made for a person to use in their own playstyle. If your character is like a knight, let's say, a real knight, like you want to be that crusader, you use a sword and shield. Well, you're wearing heavy armor. Your damage is primarily going to be through the sword and shield. So how do you do that? Well, you build it and you play it. It's that easy. Well, how much stamina am I going to have? Or am I going to need? Well, it depends on what your build requires. Like, are you playing primarily sword and shield and heavy armor with mostly stamina-based skills? If so, then stamina is going to be your better option. But you can also use food that allows you to get the benefits of magicka as well, to where you can use magicka skills to benefit you in your playstyle, like to give you buffs, or to help you ensnare enemies, or to help you taunt enemies, or whatever it might be. The whole point of the game is play how you want, have fun, enjoy it, and it doesn't matter how you enjoy the game. If you're a power player, there's power players that play this game. If you're a person who loves to role play, there's role players who play this game. If you're a person who loves to craft and focus on that, then there's a place for you in ESO. Because you can make a character that's a blacksmith. Maybe you run around using a sword and shield. Maybe you carry a bow on the back bars, so you have this survivability to go get resources and the damage to take care of those enemies that are guarding those resources. And because you're a person who likes to craft and you want to sell your wares, you need to be in a guild that has a guild trader. Maybe you join a trading guild. Or maybe you decide, I'm not going to use the trading guild system. Instead, I'm going to sell my wares over zone chat. And I'm going to undercut all the prices on the guild traders so my wares will sell. I can set up my own self in a major city and start doing zone shouts, saying, hey, I'm selling these items for this much. If you need something crafted, ask me. I can make anything in the blacksmithing line. I can make heavy armor, I can make swords, with any trait or enchant you want. Yeah, you can do that. There's nothing that says that you can't. People might get mad that you're holding up zone chat, but that's your choice. You can do that. And if somebody catches their eye that you're selling craftable armor of any level, that might get their attention. Even those low-level players who are looking for gear sets to help them level through the content. There's a place for everybody in ESO, even PvPers, where they can duel, they can do battlegrounds, or they can do open world PvP in Cyrodiil. Or maybe they like the mix of PvE and PvP, so they take it to the White Gold City. There's all these different things, or the Imperial City. There's all these different things that you can do in this game that give you a lot of playability and functionality, so you can play how you want. And you can enjoy the game how you want. When I hear people talk about in-game, what in-game are you talking about? Are you talking about your preferred in-game, or are you talking about in-game as a whole? Because if you're talking about your preferred in-game, you need to clarify. Like, are you an in-game PvPer? Or are you an in-game PvEer who does Dungeons and Trials? Or are you an in-game crafter? Or are you an in-game housing person? That's the whole gist, is maybe you need somebody to decorate your house. There's players out there that do that. that do decorations. Maybe they're interior designers that help you set up the interior of your house. You invite them to your group. You give them access to moving stuff in your house. Ta-da! Done. And then you take that removal off. But the whole point of that is you can play how you want. ESO doesn't restrict you. It doesn't stop you. That's one of the reasons why the world is scaled the way it is, to where everything you scale to the world, no matter where you go in the world. The game is just fun. And it's fun for all types of people. So when people say you can't play how you want, that's a difference of opinion. And that's it. And that's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you guys know what's coming next. If you like the video, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, you can subscribe. If you do subscribe, I do suggest you click that notification bell to be notified when I post new videos. I post builds all the time. New ones are coming out like crazy right now because there's a lot of things I can create in this game that just share ideas with you. So if you want to see that stuff, that notification bell is there for you. Other than that, thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy might see you in game. Bye.